Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward through yet another season together. As always, you can find our 100% free, 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars each and every day when you follow us on social media such as Facebook or Twitter at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. We are recording live from Everbank Stadium in the hours following the Jacksonville Jaguars' statement win over the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Jaguars won a absolutely wild one, 31-28, and folks, you really can't write it any better than how the Jaguars won. They overcame an early 14-0 deficit where it really looked like everything was going wrong for them. I mean, the Chiefs, picking them apart on offense. I think Patrick Mahomes started like 8 of 10 for 105 yards. Jaguars went 3 and out on their first 2 drives. Then they finally start driving down the field. They get to the 1-yard line. Liam Cohen calls for essentially a tush push, and Trevor Lawrence tries his old patent, go over the goal line, leap with the ball, and Nick Bolton makes a fantastic play to knock it out of Trevor's hands, force a fumble. It looked like it was about to be a disastrous night for the Jaguars, but they kept chipping away. Trevor found Parker Washington for a touchdown after putting together another drive. Trevor then ran in a touchdown in the third quarter after the Jaguars were down at halftime 14-7. Made it a tie game 14-14. I think that when you watch Trevor's game, there were a few boneheaded mental mistakes. Just a few. Probably still a few too many. But it's kind of, you take what you get with Trevor. It's, you know the give and take with him as the quarterback. He's going to have a couple of those plays a game. For instance, this evening, he had another play where it looked like he could have scrambled for probably a 4-yard gain, but throws a pass past the line of scrimmage. Ends up derailing the entire drive. Jaguars punt. At the end of the game, took a bad sack, also scrambled and didn't get out of bounds. Obviously, the aforementioned turnover with the fumble. He actually had 2 turnovers on the night. There was an interception of Trent McDuffie, but I think that when you go back and watch that play, it was very obvious that Trevor Lawrence was not the culprit for that interception. And you can argue, maybe just take the sack, dirt the ball, whatever, don't release it. But when you go back and watch it, he's releasing the ball. He starts his release before the Chiefs' defensive back ever makes contact with Parker Washington. Jaguars were doing a slant flat concept, same exact concept that the Chiefs scored on early in the game. It was an oddly officiated game. Travis Kelce scores on that. The refs throw the flag for an obvious pick play on Juju Smith-Schuster. Patrick Mahomes talks to the refs, pleads with them. They pick up the flag. It was a very odd sequence of events, but same exact concept for the Jaguars on Trevor Lawrence's interception. The difference is, instead of the pick being ran, a defensive back essentially trucks Parker Washington. It should have been a clear defensive pass interference. It's not even an objective take. The rules analyst on the ESPN broadcast said it. It is clear by simply, the rule of the game, what that play was. You could see the very visual reaction from Trevor Lawrence, from Parker Washington, from Hunter Long following the play. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. And it gave the Chiefs the ball at the 19-yard line. They scored 2 plays later and tied the ball game up. It was a very significant part of the game. But I thought, outside the few mental mistakes, I thought Trevor Lawrence had a really solid evening. You saw him scramble more. Picked up 54 yards rushing. 2 rushing touchdowns, including the game-winning rushing touchdown. Obviously, it was a pretty goofy play, but I mean, he gets stepped on by his right guard, falls while trying to catch himself, ends up still picking himself up off the dirt. Ezra Cleveland had a stellar block against the defensive end to kind of put him out on the ground, walk a little lays down on him. Trevor Lawrence breaks a tackle from, I believe it was Drew Tranquill, or no, it was Jerry Tillery, and then walks into the end zone, wins the game. I thought on that drive, you saw 2 throws from Trevor that showed even when he's frustrating. And there were times he was frustrating on Monday night. It showed you why it's just hard to quit him. It showed you why the Jaguars believe that, it's year 5 and there's still some mistakes being made, but they can get something out of Trevor Lawrence. They believe he can raise the ceiling of this offense. That throw to Brian Thomas, 33-yard throw on 3rd down on the final drive. One of the best throws of Trevor Lawrence's career, in my opinion. When you consider the stakes and the situation, where they were at in the game, how the game had been going, how the season really had been going as a downfield passer. I thought it was an outstanding throw from Trevor Lawrence. And then the very next throw to De'Ami Brown, it was not, as impressive as obviously a 33-yard one, but it was a crazy throw. Threw him open. Deep shot over to the left sideline. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence had some ups and downs, but there were a lot more ups, in my opinion, than there were downs. I thought Travis Hunter had a spectacular evening. You see him make a guy miss on a big 12-yard gain. You see him turn one of, Trevor Lawrence only had 7 incompletions. It was one of his few poor passes on the night, in my opinion, was on Travis Hunter's big 44-yard catch. His biggest catch as a Jaguar. He has 3 20-plus yard gains in the last 3 weeks, 1 in each of the last 3 games. You're seeing him come alive more and more. He just made an outstanding catch. A catch that shows you why they went and got that guy. He has the best ball skills on the team. He has some of the best ball skills probably in the NFL. His body control, his just natural catching ability. I mean, Travis Hunter is a special player, and he showed why on Monday night against the Chiefs. Defensively, we knew that eventually the turnovers would dry up to an extent, and what would the Jaguars look like when they did. You saw a little bit of it. I thought that the Chiefs, did a good job all night of just putting the Jaguars' defense in conflict. I mean, there were a lot of screens, a lot of plays to the perimeter, a lot of eye candy from Andy Reid and Matt Nagy. And Patrick Mahomes played really well. I mean, Patrick Mahomes played fantastic. He made a couple plays. That play where he gets out of the sack from Mason Smith on what was potentially the game-winning drive for the Chiefs before the Jaguars went down the field. He's the only quarterback making that play. He is a rare talent. And the Jaguars, as expected, had some struggles against them. They also struggled to stop the run more than I thought they would. I mean, at one point in the game, they were giving up about 10 yards a play. I mean, the Chiefs were gashing them at times, but they came up with stops when they needed to. At the end of the first half, come up with a big stop. Big stop coming out of the second half. First drive of the second half, they forced a punt. And then you can't talk about this game and not talk about Devin Lloyd. What a play. 99-yard interception return for a touchdown. Picks Patrick Mahomes. Does a great job. He looks like he's blitzing. Drops back in the coverage. Reads Mahomes' eyes. Knows where the tight end is. Picks the ball off. Makes a great play. Avoiding tackles, weaving in and out, and going 99 yards for the touchdown. He told us in the locker room earlier this week that he was a high school receiver, and he was still waiting to kind of house one of those interceptions. He finally did it, and it was arguably the play of the game. He's arguably, through 5 weeks, the defensive player of the year in the entire NFL right now. That's how good Devin Lloyd has been. That's how good the Jaguars are rolling right now. They are 4-1. Was it pretty? No, but it's the NFL. And frankly, it doesn't need to be pretty. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. Be back next time.